China's industrial and business revolution is a remarkable story of growth and transformation. In just a few decades, China has gone from being a largely agricultural country to the world's largest manufacturer and exporter. This has been achieved through a combination of government policies, foreign investment, and entrepreneurship. One of the key drivers of China's industrial revolution has been its focus on attracting foreign investment. Starting in the late 1970s, the Chinese government began opening up the country to foreign investment, offering tax breaks and other incentives to companies that invested in China. This policy helped to bring in much-needed capital, and technology was a major factor in China's rapid economic growth. The Apple product that we use is likely manufactured at the enormous Apple-owned factory in China. However, with all that success and glory lies a dark truth, and China's industrial and business revolution has also had to face challenges. The country has faced issues such as pollution, income inequality, and labor abuses, and there are concerns about the sustainability of its economic model. Despite all that, China's rise as an economic power has been one of the most influential global trends of the past few decades and is likely to continue to shape the world economy in the years to come. Stay tuned and subscribe to our channel for more shocking reveals. Apple's factories in China have been the subject of controversy and criticism for many years. In Zhengzhou, China, there is a massive city that operates within the factory run by Foxconn, where up to 300,000 workers are employed to manufacture Apple products, including iPhones. The company has faced allegations of poor working conditions, low wages, and other labor abuses. In addition, there have been reports of environmental damage caused by these factories. One of the most well-known examples of these issues was the 2010 Foxconn suicides, where a rash of suicides among workers at a major Apple supplier in China brought attention to the working conditions in the factories. The suicides were linked to long working hours, low wages, and poor living conditions. The issue of labor exploitation at Foxconn China gained widespread attention after several workers committed suicide by jumping off of their dormitories. According to reports, there were 18 suicide attempts and 14 confirmed deaths that year. 150 employees gathered on a rooftop in 2012 and threatened to jump. They were promised improvements but were talked down by management. They had basically used the fear of suicide as a negotiating weapon. A smaller group did it again in 2016. Just a month before Xu was interviewed, 7 to 8 workers gathered on a rooftop and threatened to jump unless their salaries were given, which had reportedly been delayed. According to Xu, Foxconn eventually agreed to pay the salaries and the workers were calmed down. A 2017 article by The Guardian provides insight into labor mistreatment at Foxconn China. Suicide notes and interviews with suicide survivors revealed that Foxconn China employees faced lengthy workdays, harsh management, and low compensation. The Guardian spoke with a worker. "It's not a good place for human beings," says one of the young guys, Xu. He'd been working in Longhua for approximately a year, and he claimed the conditions are still as horrible as they were. According to Xu, Foxconn China's management is frequently tough on its employees. Also, according to Xu, Foxconn factory managers often publicly insult workers for being tardy or making promises that they will not meet. In one instance, Xu claimed that a manager promised double compensation for overtime hours, but only provided regular pay. This sort of degradation and brutal working hours appears to be the core cause of Foxconn suicides. It is worth considering whether any improvements were made to the working conditions at the factory by 2019. There are still reports of labor abuses in Apple's factories in China. In 2019, The Guardian reported on working conditions at a factory operated by Pegatron, a major Apple supplier. The report alleged that workers were forced to work long hours, underpaid, and subjected to poor living conditions. While Apple has said to improve working conditions in its factories in China, there are still ongoing concerns about labor abuses and environmental damage. It's important for companies to prioritize the well-being of their workers, the environment, and for consumers to be aware of these issues when making purchasing decisions. Foxconn China Shenzhen is a prominent factory town established by the Taiwanese corporation Foxconn, which is among the world's biggest contract electronics manufacturers. The town, often referred to as Foxconn City, houses over 350,000 workers and is off-limits to outsiders. Foxconn produces electronics for major tech companies including Apple, Amazon, Dell, Google, and Hewlett-Packard. Despite this, there have been reports of labor exploitation at the Foxconn China factory. Because the iPhone is such a small, sophisticated gadget, assembling one correctly involves enormous assembly lines staffed by hundreds of employees who assemble, examine, test, and package each item. One worker claimed that 1,700 iPhones passed through her hands each day. She was in charge of wiping a specific polish on the display. That equates to nearly 3 screens each minute for 12 hours a day. More precise operations like mounting chipboards and constructing rear covers took longer. These employees have a minute for each iPhone. That equals 600 to 700 iPhones every day. Failure to reach a target or make a mistake might result in public punishment from superiors. Workers are frequently required to remain silent and may face rebuke from their managers if they ask to use the restroom. Labor exploitation at Foxconn China manifests in various ways. At first glance, it appears that all line workers at the factory are full-time employees. However, it is not commonly known that a considerable number of line workers are actually part-time student workers. These individuals are typically students from trade schools in China who are interning at Foxconn's factories. These internships are often low-paying line jobs. These part-time student employees at Foxconn China run the risk of being exploited. These interns frequently only make $3.15 an hour. 2019 saw Amazon.com under fire for allegedly breaking Chinese labor laws in relation to these student workers. Chinese student worker rules were allegedly broken at Amazon's Foxconn facility, according to China Labor Watch's 2019 report. Each intern employee is given a production quota, which forces them to work night shifts and overtime in violation of Chinese labor rules. In 2019, Apple and Foxconn were investigated for violating Chinese labor laws. According to China Labor Watch's assessment, as of August 2019, 50% of the workers at Foxconn City were temporary. According to Chinese labor regulations, part-time employees may make up no more than 10% of a company's workforce. Furthermore, the Chinese Labor Watch accused Foxconn China of forcing its student interns and employees to work overtime. Overtime or night shifts are not permitted under Chinese labor regulations for student interns. While Apple refuted many of the allegations, it did agree that the number of part-time workers at its Foxconn factories surpassed the limit set by Chinese labor law. And that's a wrap for China's dark truth that is seemingly kept a secret, given the popularity and demand of Apple phones and gadgets. What do you think? Does our Apple obsession cloud our judgments and make us a part of unfair treatment for investing in such products? Let us know down below. And don't forget to like the video and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel for uncovering more dark secrets.